it's identifying the kind of cultural shared experience about a person that nobody is talking about. It's about
Ooh.
finding the thing that everybody is feeling that they haven't been able to name yet.
Ooh, that's
And
nice.
it,
That was just a clip of what's coming up in the full hour-long interview with Survivor Season 50 winner Aubry Bracco. You are watching the highlights right now. If you want to see the full video, check out the comments below for the link.
The people around you. There's this drive, and I've felt this while playing backyard versions of Survivor. You
yeah,
have this drive where you have to take control of the game
oh
because
yeah.
there's so much pressure on it. You're like, I can control this game. I can push this narrative. How do you, I guess, take a step back? I think honestly, this is a change that I saw in your seasons as well. Like in the beginning, you really felt like you were needing control,
Uh-huh.
whereas 50, it really felt like you released control and you rode the wave.
Oh my gosh, I love talking to you already because like this is what I think about. This is how I think about the game. It's an
Amazing.
energetic thing. Like 50 was all about like the big energy. People think I'm like I've done intuitive healing and woo-woo stuff. Absolutely. Love my time in LA. But that's how I think about the game. Like I release control in 50. Like because I did like 32. I was raised in an achievement oriented background. Like if you achieve and you work hard, you will arrive. And when I like created that resume in 32, nobody cared. So like you have to what I learned is you have to release control enough so that it's like a rubber band and you hold this space for everybody else's ego and personality and story to take center stage until the right moment where you have control enough where you're like the top headline at the end. That's what I learned. Like you have to release control, but you can't release it like you have to understand your positioning. Like that's why it was a game of positioning and not like driving a vote. Because you have to understand like if something goes wrong where you fall. And I for me that's enough control of knowing where to fall if things don't go my way.
How do you think about where to fall? So you're looking at, say, a
Yeah.
group of 10 people.
Yeah.
Um, there's two plans in the air, maybe three plans in the air, because there's always chaos, there's always multiple plans. How are you thinking about that situation? And what are you making sure of before tribal council happens to make sure that you are falling into the right location?
Yeah, so I'm thinking about what was 10 and 30.
And we've seen examples of being able to
Yes.
mend that relationship, but
Yes.
there's a schism there. How do you guess? I guess how do you manage that when you're in, say, a lose-lose situation where no matter what you do, you're going to burn somebody? That has happened to you in the past.
I think that so it's you're saying loyalty and how do you manage loyalty with the breaking of trust that inevitably has to happen. Something I've thought about is incredibly, I even have like I pulled up notes on this for you. It's the depth of relationship. That's something I learned in 32. My relationships in my life can sometimes go like very deep very quickly, but there is a cost to having a deep relationship and a very locked alliance. So in 50, I did not want a deep relationship. I wanted working relationships because the issue with a deep relationship is that it gives you loyalty, emotional support, trust and comfort during a conflict, and like long-term alliance potential. But then it creates expectations from other people, visibility within the group, guilt when interests diverge, and the perception that you're a pair. And I did not want that. Like Angelina said in her exit press that on the original Vatu, she said, you, I was her number one, but I didn't say it back. That's true. Because what I had learned from Co-Wrong and like Debbie and I were really tight. She didn't vote for me at the end. Something I learned in 34 too is that Sierra Moret and I were immediately grouped together
Hmm.
on a tribe with Sandra, who wanted any reason to get me out. She's like, do you know each other? Are you related? And I have developed over time like a phobia of the deep relationship in Survivor because of the cost of that deep relationship. So when Angelina said you're my number one and was like speaking on my behalf, I was like, I don't believe in number ones. I like didn't want it. I did not want it because there's a cost to that. I would rather a working relationship where you're a pleasant surprise when other people are burned by their deep relationships.
That's an amazing insight, and I don't think any Survivor player has actually vocalized that before. That is super, super smart because everybody goes in, they're like, I want to find my number one. And being able to stay flexible allows you to remain in the middle, allows you to stay uncertain as long as possible, which actually gives you the most power. It's really smart.
It does, like, and you can still like develop that rapport with someone, and like you can have like, things.
You're having that same experience too. And I wonder, that part isn't really captured in the strategy of the show. Can you talk a little bit about those emotions and how those layer in?
Yeah, but oh my God, I love that we're talking about this. Like you're helping me come to terms with like the beginning of the game is my least favorite part. Pre-merge, I
Mm.
hate Survivor.
Kumbaya Survivor?
I hate it. I hate Kobayashi Survivor. It's not for me. Um, and I love what you're saying about game bots. I've always been called the game bot. I'm like, but how am I a game bot when I'm literally having an emotional breakdown every 5 minutes? Like, I do think people like, do you want to look at Survivor like you're looking at a chessboard, or do you look at as a bunch of humans in a game?
Mm.
I look at it as a bunch of humans in the chessboard in the game, not as a chess, like looking at the board versus in the board. And I think we are in the board with human beings in a time and place in this game, not looking at the game. Those emotions, I mean, they're everything. They come first. Like people and I said this over and over, and I feel like I'm getting real meta and existential, but like Survivor really is a moment in time
Yeah.
with people who are having certain emotions on a certain day.
You
It is
can't play
not,
the same game because the people
no,
are different.
you cannot play the same game because people are different. What you can do is recognize patterns you've seen before or take a different approach to maximize your chances of making it through. Like I have learned that keeping those working relationships versus deep relationships is like if I play the game 100 times, if I play the game that I did in Co Wrong 100 times, I'm going to have less of a chance of winning versus if I played the game I did in 50. So,
Curious. Can you explain a little bit why there? Was it because you went so deep, person after an experience like this? Um, I know you've talked a little bit about that too. I mean, how did it shift, I guess, your perception of yourself moving forward?
oh my gosh, I mean, it changed in every way. It's so hard because like the biggest lesson from playing Survivor is that external validation and feedback doesn't matter. Yet
Mm.
I was able to get there because I took all of that information in and I faced it all. I took in everything, Nick, after 32, everything, every thread, every tweet, every DM, every comment.
Dangerous.
And what'd you say?
Dangerous.
It is dangerous, but I took it in and I digested it and I was able to come to the conclusion that like something I don't think a lot of Survivor players or viewers realize is that more than one thing can be true at the same time. And what I mean by that is like when Jeff says perception is reality, it really is. When I took all those things in, I at first it was very destabilizing as a person, but then once I got like my grounding back in who I was able to realize that that reality existed at the same time so and so's did and someone else's did. It doesn't make one more true than the other. They all exist at the same time.
Well, the concept that you're talking about right now, I did a minor in psychology, by the way. The concept you're talking about is like frame building. So everybody's got their own frame of reference of how they're viewing the situation. And everybody
Yes.
essentially is the hero of their own story, right? They're looking at it from their frame where they are the main character. And when two frames collide, only one frame can exist in the, I guess, the global narrative. But those frames still do exist in locally, like in your own head. And I think that the clashing of frames creates that bit of disconnect.
Yes.
And it's amazing that you are able to look at all of these frames and say all these things can be true because most people can't hold multiple frames and it's hard to pull out what this thread is.
Yes.
But there is a thread here.
Yeah, name the thread, give the thread a name for me. Like we're trying to get at how you do it.
Yeah, you're trying to figure out how to plant the seed and then stoke it very subtly.
Yeah, so something that I have been thinking about is I forget where I heard it, but someone said what makes Suri so masterful, and this is going away from a second, is like when people are talking about somebody and then that person walks in, most people will stop talking. What Suri does is she's like, "Hey, we were just talking about you." That's kind of something at that level of nuance. But how do you do it? I prefer to plant the seed of not saying this person is coming for you, but say, "Hey, Do you notice how nobody ever talks about like Rizzo? Like have I think it's identifying the kind of cultural shared experience about a person that nobody is talking about. It's about
Ooh.
finding the thing that everybody is feeling that they haven't been able to name yet.
Ooh, that's
And
nice.
it's about
That's calling out that frame that exists in multiple people's heads, but
yes.
hasn't been said. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you have to think about the layers. If you can talk about the person within the tribe and the way they're moving that no one's named yet, and then if you're kind of going in for the kill, something I did with Sari was I'd talk about the threat to Ozzy. So I'd talk about, okay, this person's getting closer to dismantling your worldview and your universe here. And the last thing you do is you bring it in and you're like, they're coming for you. But you can't just say they're coming for you right away. You have to
Because
like
then they'll
warm the
try to
person up.
validate it.
Yeah, you have
Right.
to warm the person up. So it's about talking about the shared experience that everyone's feeling but haven't named. And then it's getting closer, like it's getting closer to home, that threat, you better pay attention. And then like the kill shot is kind of, they're coming for you. I think
To your incredible final tribal speech, I don't want to say textbook because the textbook has been written, but if I was writing a textbook, I would use yours as the perfect example. Because you showed that story of change, you showed how you related to the other people there, you talked to validating everybody else's frame of reference about the game itself as well, and you
yes.
did a really interesting stylistic choice, which may fly under the radar for most people, but I'm calling it out because it was really deliberate. When you were describing your own story, you didn't say I, you said she.
The only other person who noticed that was Coach. I didn't even realize I was doing that. I
Interesting.
think I have a toddler, so I speak to him like that. There's something in like developmental psychology. I saw it on Instagram. I forget what it was. It's like parents just intuitively know that their child doesn't have the concept of like I. But I think that as a marketer and then somebody who knows that the final tribal is more about validating the jury's experiences than your own, I think I just intuitively flipped into the third person. Like Survivor now is like in my DNA and my blood, everything that I do. Like I go through life being like, that's a pre-merge boot, that's a merge boot. Like that's how I think about people. I truly do. And I think that I knew that this had to be all about them and it wasn't about me. And so I would prefer to present them the story like as objectively as possible, stripping myself out of it. They're not in my shoes. Why should they care? They should care about what they're looking at. They should care about the representative of their season. They should care, is that person you're presenting me as evidence the experience that I had, yes or no? And then it's up to them to check their own frame again.
Each of the jury members as main characters, like what does that look like?
Yeah. So a couple of examples. This wasn't shown, but I like very explicitly called out Suri as the best player of all time, and that's why I think you can't win. I
I
literally said,
concur with that, by the way. She
you know,
is
some people weren't
phenomenal.
happy.
She's unbelievable, godlike, and everybody knows it too. And that's why, again, she'll never make it all the way.
I honestly think she should be like president or like something massive. I truly believe that. She's amazing. I love her. Um, so one thing I did was like Christian. Um, when I told the story of my ability to zig and zag and go between groups, I identified Christian as someone who took me in. I absolutely loved him, but I saw that he was being perceived as the middle and he was becoming the tallest poppy in the field after he did a lot of legwork to save me in Devon's. And so after that vote, I'm sorry, Christian, but like you were emerging as too much of a threat. And so I had to put the target on you to save myself and move to the other side. So like that kind of validated to Christian, like without being too heavy handed, that I did see him in the way that he probably wanted to ideally see himself in the game.
Got it.
But
Everybody
like you
wants
can't put her
to
up too
feel
much.
like they were
Yeah.
taken out because they were a
Yes.
threat. This is something that I played a game with somebody else who played a really good game, but then he screwed up the final tribal because he called out that some people were